My job is just to say how privileged it is for us as At The Match to have been involved already for quite a few years with Jason Roberts Foundation itself, but also with Jason the man himself, who I am proud to call my friend and ask him to join me now at the desk. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Roberts. We had a conversation which side Jason wanted to sit on. He chose that side. I don't want to ask why in particular.
It's my bad
side.
To
me, both sides are good. If we start, thank you, Jason. If we start right from the beginning, if we go back and just, we've done this a few times together with interviews at the match, and tonight, as you know, those of you that have come regularly here, it's informal, it's in conversation with, and it's not about me, it's about Jason. My job is to simply get Jason to talk. So let's go right back from the beginning, how it all started. How did you get involved in football in your career?
Well, first of all, everyone can hear me in the back. I'm not sure if the mic's on, but I hope you can hear me already. Okay, we're good. First of all, I wanted to thank At The Match for putting this event on. I know it's something that they've been doing. But more importantly, I wanted to thank At The Match and Simon for being so good to the Jason Roberts Foundation and helping us to be where we are today. So I want to give you a round of applause, first of all, for the work that you were doing. And okay, so the first question was,
how did it all begin?
How did it all begin? Well, it's quite interesting when I talk about my career that I have to start off by giving a lot of props to the people around me. Because I grew up in Stonebridge in northwest London, and there were a lot of talented players there, a lot of talented people. But more importantly, I felt especially lucky because I came from a family of sporting excellence. I had two uncles who played in the Premier League. I had one uncle in particular who's here, Otis Roberts, who taught me how to play football. He went off to play in Belgium and in Hong Kong, but he taught me how to play football. And the inspiration they gave me, in my opinion, was the difference between me playing football at any level and not playing football at all. There were kids in my neighbourhood who were far better than me, I felt. But what they gave me was a determination and a belief that I could become a professional footballer. And it's through them that I fell in love with football. It's through them that I continue to persevere when football said maybe I weren't good enough, when I got released from Chelsea when I was a 13-year-old, when I got released from Wickham, when I got released from Spurs. And I thought, well, maybe this ain't for me. But having those inspirational people around me, in my opinion, there's a difference between me sitting here and talking about football in front of you guys or never having played football at any real level.
The uncles, as well as my personal friend Otis, that Jason is referring to, for those of you that may not know, is the famous Cyril Regis and Dave Regis, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't go into detail about that. I was going to leave that till later on, but
okay, no problem. We'll leave that till later on, because there is one other gentleman that's sitting in the room.
Sure, no.
I do want to say a welcome to.
Absolutely.
Jason's father is here with us, and I'm honoured that you've come and made the effort to be here. Good evening to Reg.
Yeah.
Good evening to Reg. Really honoured and privileged that you're here. But I understand from a little conversation that your father did play quite a significant role in where you...
On my dad being here, I'm very happy that he is here. Because I'm sure you're going to be asking me some deep and meaningful questions about my childhood. So if you have security, if I just want to be over here in case he's going to Kanye and run up and do something on the stage. But yeah, listen, I came from a strong family, a family that believed in values that was brought over in the Windrush. My dad came to England from Grenada as a young boy, had to literally fight his way to school through all of the racism and the prejudice and all the different issues we had going on in England at that time, and went on and made himself a success. He found a trade, he was a builder, but that wasn't enough for him. He decided he wanted to go on and become a developer, a property developer, and he did that and has been very, very successful. So there's nothing that I do that is not as a outcome of what these people around me have done. So I get quite embarrassed when people talk about what I've done because, you know, around my dinner table, it's not that much of a big deal, to be honest.
And then you started at Hayes, played at Hayes, and then the first move was to Wolves, I think.
That's correct, yeah. And Hayes was...
at the time, significant amount of money, has to be said.
I think it was a record transfer at the time, £250,000, which is like somebody's wages now, right? But in 1997, if it was 1997, I think it was, that was a big deal. So the whole thing to Hayes, again, and I'll go back to being given the opportunity, which is so important. I had just been released by Wickham, and I decided, football's not for me. And I went and I got a job, and I was doing a job that I don't know, I didn't love it, right? I went in, I did a job, and I left, and I found out that my uncle had called Hayes, my uncle Cyril Regis, who was one of the first black players to play for England. He made a call to his first club, Hayes, and said, "Listen, my nephew's out of contract, out of a club. Would you like him to come down?" They said yes, but then they duly dropped me in the youth team. You can imagine, for my ego, I was playing at Chelsea and Wickham, and I thought I was going to be a player, and I got dropped in the youth team of Hayes. So okay, I did a bit there, and then we moved to the reserves. And what was interesting, I'm glad my dad says, is one particular story where we're playing on a Sunday. I can't remember where we're playing, and I'm playing left wing back because I was always the smallest in my team. So I'm playing left wing or whatever, and after the game, me and my dad get in the car, and we look at each other, and I think, without even saying it, we both realised that A, I wasn't the best player on that pitch, and B, this might be the height of my footballing career. This is it. I mean, this is the whole thing of growing up and thinking, I'm going to be a footballer. Maybe I better learn to be better at that exports job that I'm doing, because this is not working out. But I persevered. I persevered because I had these inspirational people around me. So I continued to play, even though it seemed that it was going to be an uphill struggle. And I think it's then that I found out that I loved football. I loved the competition. I love the competition of football. I'm a competitor. I love the competition of football. And I was going to continue to do it because I loved turning up on a Saturday, winning or losing. And it was at that moment, it was around that time in my life where I realised that I just want to play. At whatever level I get the opportunity, I just want to play. I love the competitive nature of what I'm doing. So things started to improve. I started to play better. I got into the reserves, scored some goals in the reserves, got put into the first team, scored some goals over there. And one pre-season, I'd been moving to the first team. We just got promoted to the conference, and I'd scored some goals at the tail end of the season. And my uncle always said to me, if you start well, I think there'll be some interest in you. So that pre-season, there was no holidays, no Magaluf, no Ibiza, just running, just hills. Me one by myself with my uncle. And I came back the next season super fit. I scored a hat-trick against Brentford in our first pre-season game. I was 19 years old, I was hungry. And I think it was 4 or 5 games later, I was transferred for $250,000 to Wolves.
And we can already hear, just from what you've said, the character of you already at that age, and at Wolves, it didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
But yet, so you went there, you didn't play, I don't think you played for Wolves.
No, Wolves was interesting. Wolves, first of all, I think it's important to play. I was speaking to some of the young guys here, and I was saying, the benefit of playing men's football young is amazing. I mean, I was in, this wasn't academy, this wasn't, how did you progress today? Little tick in your passing box. This is men's playing for money. Men's football. So things happen on the pitch. You're going to get cleaned up. Believe me, this is real football. And I think that gave me a real benefit. But going into the league, going to Wolves, where I was one of 12 strikers, Mixu Patalainen, Dougie Friedman, Steve Bull, Robbie Keane, Mark Jones, who was coming up with Michael Owen as the next young big thing. I realised that football's a business, right? And once you start getting paid to play football, things change. And I thought, I used to use the term playing football. But then when you start to get paid, you're not playing anymore. If you want to play, go and kick about with your mates outside. You're paid to win football matches. That's a whole different mind shift, right? This is not playing. This is not enjoyment. You need to go out there and compete every day in training. Yes.
I used to say to Jason,
Thank you, I was hoping for this.
when are you going to work?
But he didn't realise it's working every day, man. You get paid to play football, you're competing against 7 other strikers who want to play. That's not playing. You're working. And you don't get paid to play, you get paid to win football matches. And that's something that I learned very quickly. Terry Brown taught me that it's hard work. I had to start at the bottom. I had to make the tees. I had to change his tyres. I had to do all that kind of stuff, train by myself. And I was the top player at the club at the time. So I think I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from playing men's football. And I learned that football's a business. And you're an entrepreneur, right? When you're a professional player, you are the master of your own brand. I know people say brand now, but you are running your own business, right? If I don't play, one of them other strikers are going to play. That's my business going south. And then when I go out on Saturdays, I've got to make sure I perform. That's my business going south. They could transfer me tomorrow, or I could go to another club. So yes, you're part of a team, but I think the game is starting to realise that now with the advent of clubs and leagues and structures of a club where you have 25 international players, that you're a self-employed businessman. You're an entrepreneur when you're a professional player and you're getting paid to play football. And I think I learned that very, very quickly at Wolves, that no one was looking for me, no one was helping me. I had to find it myself. And the best thing, Keith Curl, I remember playing it with Keith Curl in training, and I'm running around trying to do my thing. And he said to me, listen, stop trying to be a professional player. You're here because you can do something that they can't. If you did what they do, then why would they buy you, right? So do what you're good at. Be direct. Want to score goals. Be aggressive. And I think from that moment, I learned a lot about football. So Wolves was a very important move for me, albeit I never played a game.
A lot of young players in the room and current players in this room who I'm sure just listening to you there get the idea. And then you did, after a few loan moves, get the break where you did make Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol Rovers.
Again, you got 38 goals in 2 seasons.
Yeah, but you know that sounds good, right? That sounds
That's
good.
my job
But, yeah, no, thank you.
To make you look good,
you're doing a good job, but there was a lot that went into that because I went there again, a record transfer from Wolves. But essentially, I was still a non-league player. I hadn't played a league game in the Championship. I went and played a few games in League Two. So I was still raw. I was still a Championship player. So I go to Bristol Rovers as record signing. And everyone's saying, come on then, big man, let's see what you can do. I haven't had much coaching. It's a record signing. Okay, let's see how it goes. But Ian Holloway, who was the manager at the time, did a fantastic job of surrounding me with good people. We had myself, Nathan Ellington. We have Bobby Zamora. We had Barry Hales, we had Jamie Curriton, all guys who went on to have fantastic careers and score lots of goals. But that came from having the inspiration of Ian Holloway, who is, you might have seen him on TV. He's not all there. You know, he's a mad hatter, but he's a lovely man. But he surrounded us with the likes of Gary Thompson, who was a striker who played in the top leagues for many years, and Gary Penrice, who worked with us. And now I look back, that was probably the only time I really got coached. You know, it's the only time someone sat down and really coached me, but I took so much from them. And I started slowly. I think it was 1 goal in 12 games. Record signing, okay. 1 goal in 12 games. Starting to think maybe that conversation with my dad was quite apt. But there was a moment, and I think this is something that runs across my career, these moments. There's a moment. And the moment when Barry Hales got sold to Bristol Rovers, got sold to Fulham for 2.5 million. Up to that point, I scored 1 goal in 12 games. I always tease Halesy about it, but I'm quite sure he never passed me the ball. I don't know, he says he did, but we can discuss that another time. So Halesy went to Fulham for 2.5 million, and all the guys teased me because they said, when it was said in front of the group, I smiled. I smiled because I knew this was my moment. This was the time. This is when I had to take over. And I scored a hat-trick the next game. I scored 24, 25 goals that season, another 25 goals the next season, and then on to West Brom.
For another record signing with them.
Yeah.
You missed that out, but it was a record signing for 2 million, I think that was.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so. I didn't get any of it, so I'm never quite sure. They tell you it like you get the money. He's got transferred for 2.5 million. Then I didn't get none.
But then I think the highlight, and you've mentioned him before, when you went to Wigan, and everywhere you've gone, the fans have still massive. Everywhere you've gone, it's clear that you've given your heart and soul to the club when you were there. You've been focused on it, which again is another key thing which I think you've brought to every team.
Yeah.
Every fan, there's fans still all come, they take you back now, Bristol and wherever. But when you went to Wigan, your partnership also with Nathan, who you've mentioned, that it was rekindled there, and then you really kicked off.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate because I played with Nathan Ellison at Bristol Rovers, and we were best. Sorry.
Can you take them back to what happened, how you went to Wigan?
I went to Wigan, right, brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I was at West Brom at the time, and me and the manager had fallen out, Gary Megson, who could fall out with anybody. And that's no The guy could fall out with anyone, so we didn't have a fantastic relationship. So I went on loan to Portsmouth, worked with Harry Redknapp, and that was horrible. Because, yeah. So I moved across to Wigan as a result of me and Nathan being on the phone. And I was saying to Nathan, do you know what? If we play together, we'll destroy the Championship. He's like, yeah. I think I told the manager that. Anyway, he speaks to the manager, and my uncle, who's my agent, gets a phone call saying, we'd like to bring Jason to Wigan. Anyway, we said we would. And we was on the car on the way up to Wigan. Bear in mind the self-employed businessman bit about this. This doesn't paint me in a good light. So we're in the car on the way to Wigan to sign for them, and we get a phone call. Harry Redknapp comes on the phone and says, Jace, you've got to come to Portsmouth. We're in the Premier League. It's you, Teddy Sheringham, Yakubu, Patrick Berger, Steve Stone. We're going to play free up front. It's going to be brilliant. So we're on the road, the way up the motorway, and I stop and say to my uncle, I said, what do you think? He said, it's up to you. Well, I've got to go to Portsmouth, haven't I? So we spin round on the motorway.
You mentioned the press was waiting for you.
Yeah, the press was waiting for me. The whole, yeah. This is not good. The whole press, everything was set up like this. They were waiting for me. So we turned around, we went back to West Brom. We signed the loan deal at West Brom without telling Wigan. And then afterwards, my agent told me I had to call Wigan and tell them what had happened, right? Typical agents, right? Yeah, right. So I had to get on the phone and tell Paul Gill we weren't coming. So that was a difficult phone call. And of course I went to Portsmouth, and we never played free up front. It never happened. And then 6 months later I went back to Wigan. And you can best believe there wasn't any fans waiting for me. There wasn't any cameras. There was nothing waiting for me. But I was lucky enough to score my first touch in my first game against Preston, and they kind of forgot about it after that, which happens in football, right?
And then moving on with Wigan, you did obviously have a fantastic time at Wigan, and you did
great.
play. You talk about moments, which I'm a big believer in. Life is made up of moments.
Yeah.
I think if you had to pick one of your moments, and Wigan will always remember that, you took them to that cup final. Not that I'm happy you're talking about this, because I remember it like yesterday, but I'll allow you to bring alive that semi-final moment.
Do you know, you talk about moments. The crazy thing about football is that I played for 17, 18 years, and people remember specific moments. So I still get people come up to me and said, I remember that against Arsenal. I remember that goal against Arsenal in the last minute. And I'm like, yeah, but I played for 18 years. You didn't remember anything else, that one bit. But it was a pretty good bit. I mean, we're playing against Arsenal, and not this Arsenal. I'm talking about the proper Arsenal, the Invincibles, the Pires, the proper guys. The guys that are all 6'7" and they could all play football. Thierry Henry, Lundberg, Pires, Sol Campbell, the Vieira, those boys that were anywhere you wanted to play football, they'll have it with you. You want to play football? We can play football. You want to fight? We can fight too, no problem. So yeah, we drew with them at Wigan, and we took them back to Highbury, the last season in Highbury. And Van Persie scored, then Henry scored, and then we came back, and then in the last minute I scored to put us through. So that was a wonderful moment, and being a Spurs fan, and an even better moment. But I got to tell you, I learned a lot at Wigan, and you spoke about those moments. Scoring the first goal, my first touch, because the fans weren't overly happy with me as to what happened, as you can imagine. But being a self-employed businessman, I had to make a decision, and I made a decision. But then you need to back up what you're doing, right? You're going to come back to a club after doing that. You better deliver. So my first touch, I scored against Preston. I went on to score 20-odd goals excuse me. No, I didn't. We just missed out on the playoffs. I played half the season. Then the next season, we were promoted. I scored 25 goals. Me and Nathan scored 50-odd goals between us. But I think I learned a lot about myself. Paul Gill was great, and he allowed us to get on with it. He allowed me to get on with it. I don't think we had too many conversations other than go out and win the game for us. And I realised that I loved that. And I realised what a competitor I was, right? And I think this is something going back, even now as I retire, I think about it. I don't think I loved football. I don't think I loved football. I loved winning, right? So that competitive nature was football, yeah, right. But I want to win. So people ask, what's it like in the Premier League? It's nice when you win. It's not nice when you lose. My first game in the Premier League for West Brom was against Man United. And you lose the game afterwards and everyone shakes your hands. Oh, good try, good try. It didn't make me feel better, the fact that millions of people watched it. It didn't make me feel better that it was Old Trafford. It didn't make me feel better that I played well. It didn't make me feel better that I nearly scored one of the goals of my life. We lost the football match. So, yeah, I didn't love football. I don't love football. I love winning. I love competing. And I think I learned that about myself.
And you continued to win when you moved to Blackburn. You did your first European, etc. But more importantly, even at this point, and this just brings me on slightly, with everything going on in the football, I think it was then in 2007 when you were still playing, you set up the Jason Roberts Foundation.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And again, Blackburn was another challenge for me because, you know, this was a team, Wigan, we performed at a level above ourselves. Nobody expected us to be where we were. We came up, and I came up there, who said, Rodney Marsh. Rodney Marsh said, if Wigan stay in the Premier League, he said, you know, you could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Because we was buying some players, and he said, yeah, they're buying some players, but you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Fair point. So he was obviously saying we're going to get relegated. We came 10th that season. We got to a cup final. We surprised everybody. We played 4-4-2, not too dissimilar to Leicester. Of course, we'd never got to that level, but the same sort of mentality, I think. So it was a surprise to everybody. But going to Blackburn was something else, because this is a side that's won the Premier League before. This is a side that had huge expectation. It's not necessarily a big club, but it's big enough, having won the Premier League, having, you know, performed at a certain level. They expect things from you. So that was a different challenge for me. Working with Mark Hughes was interesting because, you know, in terms of management styles, anyone who knows Mark Hughes is not a big talker. You know, he's not the biggest personality in the room, but what he found was a way to lead without shouting and screaming. He put good people around him and organised us very well. We came in the top 10 four or five times in the year. In the time that I was there, we got to the Europa League. We got to a semi-final against Chelsea in the FA Cup, which wasn't at Wembley. I never played at Wembley. I always wanted to. There's a guy from Wembley here, works in Wembley Stadium. And we were talking about the fact that I'd never played at Wembley. That would have been our time to play at Wembley. We didn't. But Blackburn was a challenge. I thought I played well, but I never really grabbed hold of it the way I did with other clubs. In terms of the start wasn't great for me. I got injured, and we started the Jason Roberts Foundation. And it's just an extension, really, of the work that my family have done in the community already. My uncles were already doing work in the community. My uncle Cyril had always come back and contributed to stuff. Otis had come back from Hong Kong and was working with kids. So it was an extension of that, and the foundation was really just collaborating all that good work and trying to do more in the community. And while I was injured, it seemed like the right time to do it. And it was around engaging kids through sport, how we could increase the participation, and then through the participation try and help them to become better people. That's how it started, but it's gone on to take on legs of its own now.
Which we'll come to a little bit. Let's just finish the playing career, and then we'll do more on the Jays. I just wanted to put in that whilst you were playing, you established the Jays, because 2 years after that you had another one of your, was it 2 years after that, one of your moments where you received an MBE, I believe.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Again, sounds relatively impressive, right? But you have to understand I'm one of 3 in my family to get an MBE. So around my dinner table, who cares, right? Yeah, well done, Jason. Yeah, tap on the head kind of thing. You're the first person to do it. Well done. My uncle Cyril Regis, who was one of the first black players to play for England on my mother's side. He's my mother's brother. Fantastic striker. If you guys can YouTube, he's a goal against Man United he never stops going on about. They beat Man United 5-3. I've had to watch the goal about 1 million times. But if you get a chance to see that, it's an amazing goal. He was an incredible player. And he did a lot of good work in the community. He was an inspiration to the community. My uncle David Regis had a very different path, lots of injuries. Went to New Zealand, played internationally, came back, played for Barnet, and then went from Barnet straight to Notts County, who had just been promoted to the Premier League, and played for, I think, 13 clubs through the league. So he was a professional player. And my uncle Otis Roberts, who played, he was at Palace, then he went across to Hong Kong and played in that game. You remember Gaza with the dentist chair? He played in that game, and he played in Belgium as well. And will tell you he's the best player that ever existed. If anyone who's ever played with him, and there's a lot of laughter in the room because I know people who played with him, genuinely thinks he's the best player in the world.
It was worth getting you here just for that moment.
That worked.
Now that's a moment.
That worked. That was another moment. That's great.
You ended your career at Reading,
Yeah.
which again was a place where you immediately went and had a massive impact right from the start.
Reading,
Fantastic stuff.
Reading was special because I just I left Blackburn where, you know, I said the difference in Premier League and other leagues. I've been very fortunate to play in every league in succession. And the Premier League is interesting because that's an international league, right? That's not nothing to do with England. The number one English league, in my opinion, is a championship. That's English football. The Premier League is international. There's 25 international stars, guys who can't walk the streets in their home country. So there's a lot of ego that goes with that. I mean, you try leaving 9 international players out of the team, you know, things get, there's politics there. Things get strange. So, strange was good, right? So going to Reading was great for me. It's going back to a dressing room, I understood everyone was swimming in the same direction. We had 12 good championship players, and we had other guys who were making their way up, or youngsters. So everyone was swimming in the right direction. Brian McDermott was an incredible manager, but more importantly, an incredible man. And his management style was based around, I'll get experienced players in the team, in the dressing room, and let them get on with it. And that suited me as a leader at the time. And coming to the team in the January transfer window, I think we got 26. I don't know, it was something stupid, like I think we only lost one game from January right the way through to the end of the season, coming from maybe 6th position to end up winning the league. And more important than that was the relationships that we had. The relationship we had in that dressing room was Hayes, that was Bristol Rovers, that was, you know, a special time in my career. And I don't think I could have ended it in a better situation. I retired through injury, and that was maybe 3 years ago now with my hip. I still feel like I would have still been playing if I was fit, but I think it was right that I ended at Reading under the circumstances I did. I spent 18 months in the gym. I wish I didn't do that. I wish it was a leg break, and from that moment you never play again. My injury was, you might be all right in 6 weeks. You might be all right in 8 weeks. You might be all right in 4 weeks. And I did about 7 pre-seasons. Any footballers here know exactly what that's like. I did 7 pre-seasons to get nowhere near playing. So you do 3 or 4 training sessions and you drop out again. Do 5 or 6 training sessions, then you drop out again. So that was difficult to deal with. But Reading was an excellent time. I loved it.
Once you finished your footballing career, nothing really stopped. You transitioned automatically. You'd already done a little bit of the BBC punditry.
Yeah.
And you transitioned straight into that and did it with ease from what
Well, ease.
You were at ease with it right from the start, as I'm sure everyone can see here tonight. You were at ease with it, and you've done a good job. How did you feel the transition?
Well, the transition was interesting because the transition was, again, born through from my uncle, Otis, who's over there, and who always had an eye for me in terms of what I was going to do next, and always pushed me to take myself out of my comfort zone. When you're a footballer, you think, I'm playing football, I'm training, I'm going home, that's it. Don't ask me to come out of my comfort zone. He consistently pushed me to do something else, to take myself out of my comfort zone. So I was, you know, I never turned down an interview, which the boys used to cane me about. Always did interviews, and when I had the opportunity to go on to 606 with my agent, Joe Tung, who's here. Can you put your hands up, Joe? Yes. Joe Tung, who for some reason decided to give me the opportunity to go on 606 Radio 5 Live. If you guys don't know Radio 5 Live, sports radio channel, and 606 is the biggest phone-in. So 6 minutes past 6, hence 606, you get a million people listening, calling in and talking about football. So somebody thought it would be a good idea to put me on whilst I'm playing the Premier League. Now this had never been done before. So that was interesting. And you can imagine after the games, literally finished the game, I'm sat there in the dressing room, manager's talking, yeah. As soon as he's finished, my clothes are on, I'm going to the local BBC studio to speak to 1 million people about football. win, lose, or draw. And we were losing a lot. It just seemed to be, that time. We were losing a lot. And you can imagine the fans aren't happy and their star striker after the game, but they're not even home yet and I'm on the radio. So you can imagine I caught a bit of stick for that. But again, I had to take myself out of my comfort zone. If it challenges you, then you need to go and do it. So I went and done it, and that was my first foray into the media. And as a result, I've been able to present a few things. I've been lucky enough to be on Match of the Day, to be on BBC World Service, to do some other things, and media is something that I very much enjoy, and I feel very fortunate to be part of.
And through all of this, and you're continuing obviously with the media, question of sport, I think you were on recently, I saw you.
I was rubbish. Oh man, I know nothing about sport, man. I think the only thing I got right was a football question. Other than that, if you watch it back, you just see me looking at everyone else like, I'm just looking at my, you're going to answer it, because I can't. But other than that, I got through it. I might get invited back, maybe.
Well, just going back now to the foundation, just tell us a little bit about the work of the foundation, what's currently going on in the foundation. The project.
I can't tell you about the foundation without telling you about Grenada. Grenada is a country of my father's birth. My father was born in Grenada, and being brought up in Stonebridge Estate, which is a very, very, culturally it was a lot of Caribbean people and a lot of Irish people. So my love for my country was strong. My connection to Grenada was very, very strong as a kid. And going back a little bit further, my uncle Cyril Regis, when he was a young guy coming through at West Brom, he had a fantastic season, won Player of the Year. You know, this is a 19-year-old, having just come from Hayes, straight to West Bromwich Albion. He was offered the opportunity to play for France. He was going to move to Saint Etienne. Having been born in French Guyana, he was going to move to Saint Etienne and become a French national, which he could do, and play for France. So England came in and they gave him a cap. He played for England and then never played again. So I thought about this. And I'm not sure if I was ever of a level to play for England. That's a lie. At Wigan, I think I would have got a cap. But at a young age, at 19, I decided to go and play for Grenada. And that was a few things. First of all, my uncle Otis, the greatest footballer in the world. He was playing for... all right, I'm just saying. He was playing for Grenada. And I couldn't resist, man. The opportunity to play with my uncle, international football, it just... You don't even dream about a situation like that. I mean, this is, and I have to give you some more insight into my uncle. He's not just my uncle, he's my hero, right? This is a guy who taught me how to play football. I got so annoyed with him when he left to go to Belgium. I didn't speak to him. He went to Belgium and he came back 6 weeks later to collect his stuff after being signed. I didn't speak to him because I was like, he's leaving me. Like, this is my guy, this is my hero, he's leaving me. And that remained to today. He's still my hero. And he's the chief executive of the charity. He is my agent. He's my guy. So to play football with him was too much. It was an honour. And we made our debut against who? No. Netherlands Antilles. Netherlands Antilles. And we won 13-0.
You scored the first two, I think.
If you Google it, I think...
You scored the first two.
If you Google it, I think it's the highest international winning margin ever. I think it's true. You got to temper it with the fact that the goalkeeper had one leg shorter than the other. And I'm not joking. He genuinely had one. I mean, that is not too... He had one leg shorter than the other. So if you hit it one side, he was going to do well to get down there. Hence, I scored, I don't know, 4 goals or whatever. But the funny thing about that is, after the game, me and Otis were still arguing about my runs. He said, you went left, you should have gone right. Yeah, but I scored 4 goals. And we had this massive argument, as normal, right? So anyway, sorry, we're talking about international football. So playing for Grenada was more than just an international cap for me. It was going back to the country of my forefathers. It was playing with my Uncle Otis. It was being part of something bigger than myself. And Grenada has retained that feeling to me. So playing for Grenada is and always will be the greatest honour of my footballing career. To hear the national anthem, to play against the USA, to play against Barbados, to play against Trinidad and represent my country. nothing can come close to that. So as a result, when we started the foundation, one of the things that we looked to do was twin our work in the Caribbean. And of course, very, very different issues. In the Caribbean, it's about, there was no league, so we put a league on. There was no project for the kids to play football, so we put a project on. There was no footballs, there was no kits. So we worked hard around stuff like that. And I'm proud to say that through the foundation, and it's gonna sound like a bit grandiose statement, right? But you set out to change the world, right? So you set out to change the world. You can't change the world, but you can change the world for a person. You can change the world for a group of people. You can do something that makes someone's reality totally different to what it was before. And the foundation has allowed my family to do that. And I'm here speaking to you as a representative of them. It's allowed my family to do something bigger than the sport that we participate in. It's allowed us to use sport as a tool to change people's lives in a real way.
And I was lucky enough, just last week, the Hyde League, which is also part of the Jason Roberts Something New, I think it was in conjunction with the Hyde Housing and the whole, and where you grew up in a way.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, and when you talk about small things that can make a real difference, I only last week participated in running a session.
How was that?
Yeah, I know that was funny, but I was privileged, and it was tremendous to see, and I'm now being serious here. I think we call ourselves where business and sport meet. I think where education and sport meet, I saw that in the room. So as well as playing football on Sunday, it's also about showing these young aspirational kids going forward that, as well as that, there's education and putting it down and the tools. It was amazing to see.
Yeah, but that's what it's at. That's where it's at. And I've said to people today have asked me about the foundation, and I said, okay, it's an opportunity for us to use sport to change people's lives. Sounds like a soundbite, like a cliche. But actually, it is about changing the world. It's about changing people's perceptions of the world. You talk about the Hyde League, right? So this is about how we can get kids to improve their skills by playing at each other at an elite level, at a good level. But it's not just that. It's about being part of the committees. It's about dressing in the correct way. It's about addressing your elders in the correct way. It's about being a leader. It's about being part of a team. It's about leading your team, not just in the game, but feeding back to us how we can do things better. It's about the kids being part of the hospitality. It's about the kids being around and discussing the financing of the league and how we can make the league better. And it's about the kids not only being part of the hospitality, but also going and getting an opportunity to work in hospitality in a local Hilton hotel.
I think we've got five of the young players in the room here. Is that right?
Stand up, please. Stand up. Let's see you, boys. You make me proud. Stand up, man. Well done.
These young men, as well as playing in the league, have come here also as an opportunity to see the PR element, the journalistic side, education, to see if there's anything else outside the gate.
This is me when I was that age. This is me without getting an opportunity to learn that football can change your life, not just through the playing of it. Not everyone's going to end up being a professional footballer, but through our program with Hyde, these guys can learn that, yes, football's one element of being part of sports, being part of football, but you can be part of hospitality, you can be part of the ticketing, you can be part of the accounts department, you can be part of football, you can follow your passion. And no, we're really proud that they can do that through the foundation. So
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. No, I just wanted to go back to the thing about passion, right? Because I think in terms of if you can follow your passion, then you've never worked, right? If you can find out what it is that you love doing and do it, then you are a very, very lucky person. You're luckier than most people in this world. If you can wake up every day and do something that you love doing, then you are very, very fortunate. And as someone who played professional football for 17 years, I think I'm in a good position to discuss it, because imagine doing something that kind of defines you, right? You're a footballer. That's what you are. What do you do? I'm a footballer, right? That's all you do. And then you, through my trajectory, you get to the Premier League. Having gone through all the leagues, you get to where you want to be, and you stay there for 10 years. So if I was a doctor, or if I was a lawyer, I'd be at the highest level. If I was a businessman, I would be at a FTSE 100 company. I'm in the Premier League, where all the international players want to come. And I'm there. I'm from Stonebridge, right? So you're there. But then it's taken away from you, because your body's going to give up sometime. 22, 25, 19, 37 or whatever it was when football was taken away from me. And then you need to really engage with that transition about, well, who am I? Because I'm not a footballer anymore. Maybe I never was a footballer. Maybe it was just a job that I did. But who are you really? What's your interests? What moves you outside of just kicking a ball about, right? And I think that's what's been really interesting for me to take on board and to find out that whatever it is that you want to do, if you want to be successful in something, you have to think long and hard about that, because there's a transition. And you need to realize that all of those things aren't real. You know, the Bentleys and the money in the car and this and that, that's not really real. You need to love what you're doing. You need to love what you're doing. The finances are great, but there's always someone else with a better Bentley. There's always someone else with a bigger house. There's always someone with a better business, or someone who has more holiday homes than you. So, you know, more money, more problems, right? It's just a bigger conversation. But I think you really need to look inside yourself and work out what is truly important. What's truly important and what defines you isn't those things. And I appreciate football for giving me the opportunity to have all the things that I have and to be where I am. But I think that needs to be the wider goal, and that's what the foundation has done for me. It's, if you're going to be successful, make it. I want to be successful so I can give more away, so I can impact more people's lives. I want to run a successful business so I can do more corporate social responsibility. There's enough douchebags with Bentleys around, right? If you're going to do something and be successful, make it to a wider end. And I think the foundation through my family have allowed me to have that wider focus. And I feel privileged that we've been able to try to impact people's lives through sport.
Okay, I think you can also, I've got, just tell us a little bit in short, because we're running out of time now.
Sure.
But I'm sure everyone's
I'm rubbing
very
it on,
happy.
right? I said to everyone
Not
I was going to
at
rub it on. This is what happens.
Not at all. We've got a few minutes. Just tell us about the current course that you're doing, because that's also an interesting aspect.
Yeah, I mean, so the Hyde League, I showed you a little bit about that. I told you about our diversity program, which, and some people asked me about the foundation, and I said, we started it around participation in sport to change people's lives. But then in the end, issues find you. So you look at the levels of diversity and the issues around diversity. For instance, we delivered a program around a diversity project and getting people to engage in diversity. We ran a program in Belfast. What the hell am I doing in Belfast, right? But they've been having huge issues after the Troubles with an increase in racially motivated attacks. So through the foundation, we're able to engage with people using sport to talk to them why diversity is important and to try to have an impact on and deliver a message as to why it's not okay for these racial attacks to happen. It's not okay for you not to say anything. It's not okay for you not to recognise why diversity is important. And that's something that's incredible to me. I'm in Belfast Town Hall giving a speech. What the hell is that about? But it's important. And I think the issues find you. In Grenada, it was about participation. I told you guys about the leagues but the issue that found us is around special education and around special needs. In Grenada, we have lots of volunteers who do lots of work in special education, special needs schools, but there's no provisions for sports. There's no sporting activities. There's no real sporting curriculum. These guys deserve the chance to engage in sport too. So we bring over the Golf Trust. Kai's over there, a partner of what we do. He comes over and he does incredible work with working with these kids around golf. All right, so imagine you got this kid who can't concentrate on anything, and you get him to concentrate on the ball and swinging that golf club and hitting that ball, and the engagement you get from there. These people, the work that they do is incredible. So to be able to be part of that in Grenada is something that is over and above our wildest dreams, and over more than just let's use football to engage people. Right? It's about, as I said earlier, changing the world, and I think we're doing that.
And you're also doing some course with the UEFA.
Yeah, I am. It's interesting because I did a lot of work. I was on the PFA management committee, and a little thing I didn't tell you about when I was on 606 is that was the year we had the Terry issue. That's the year we had the Suarez issue. So you can imagine, I'm on the radio every weekend, and people are calling me up saying, "Well, what do you think about Terry then?" And my agent and my producer's going, shut up, don't say it. You will get kicked off the radio.
I let you speak.
Thank you very much, you did. Sometimes. But it was difficult. It was difficult because, You need to be true to yourself. You need to be true to the issues. But these are the things that we had to deal with. But I had to. What was the question again?
The course that you're doing with UEFA.
Yeah. So on the PFA Management Committee, I was involved in lots of anti-racism work, lots of diversity work, and I have to tell you the story. I tell you the T-shirt story.
Of course.
All right, cool. Have we got lots of time? So it was the just after the Suarez thing, just after the Terry thing, and it was okay. We've got this kick racism out of football T-shirt thing. I'm like, please, what's the T-shirt gonna do? That doesn't address the issue. That's just a T-shirt. It doesn't do anything. So who told me to say that on television? Well, Jason, you gonna wear the T-shirt? No, I'm not gonna wear the T-shirt. I haven't spoken to anybody. I'm not gonna wear the T-shirt. I don't want to wear the T-shirt. I'm a grown man. I ain't wearing the T-shirt. Who told me to say that? Well, within 2 hours, Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, everyone's got an opinion about a black guy saying he's not wearing an anti-racism T-shirt. I think I'm best placed to make that decision. I'm not wearing a T-shirt. So that became a bit of an issue for me. 250 people across the league didn't wear the T-shirt, not because I called them up, I didn't tell them, but because a T-shirt doesn't make any real difference. We need to get out there and do the hard work, do the real work, and educate people and make some real changes to our system. So that was another part of the whole thing, and I've forgotten the question again. Go on.
Why did that make you go on the course then? UEFA course.
So my interest is in football administration. So my talking about anti-racism, everyone says, well, you talk about lack of black managers. Why don't you do one? Why don't you become one? You become a coach. You become a manager. I don't want to. Not because I'm black or I don't want to be a manager. So I always get that criticism. Like, you're always talking about no black managers, no coaches. We did a report on it through the Sports People's think tank, of which I'm part of. And last season, we found out of 92 football clubs across the divisions, we looked at their 5 positions: manager, first team coach, assistant coach, academy director, youth team manager. 992 positions, and only 15 were from the black and ethnic minority backgrounds. Now, this is crazy. This is impossible. I mean, the numbers don't stack up, considering we've got 30% black players, and we've had them for 30 years. So there's obviously something going on. So my interest is in administration. When I raise that topic and I get the Twitter and everybody else, why don't you become a manager? You do your courses. I don't want to do that. I want to be involved in football administration. So at the moment, I'm doing a course with UEFA, a master's in football administration, and I hope to go on and take a leadership position or a key decision-making position in a sporting organisation. So I can not just talk about it, but actively do something about it.
I think it's clear why Jason is who he is, and why, without the match, as well as you hopefully networking with each other and speaking to each other, it's enough really just also to have the opportunity to listen to the inspirational man that is Jason Roberts. It's enough if you come just once a month and we have people like you, really inspirational, top drawer. And finally, final question for you, current predictions for this season, because it's been the craziest Premier League ever.
I think it's been the best Premier League. A lot of people have said, because of the fluctuations, is it that the Premier League's not going very well? I think in Europe we're not performing well. Could be a number of different factors. I think our big clubs are in a crisis by their standards, and that's translating in European results. But the Premier League, who would have thought we got Leicester? That's why we watch football, right? Unscripted drama. I don't want to know who's going to be the top 4 next season. I want someone to surprise me. And Leicester, West Ham, these sides have just done something incredible. Spurs being involved in the transfer, in the title race. I think it's been wonderful. So, do you know what? I think Leicester are going to do it, man. And I hope they do it. I hope they do it, and I hope all real football fans hope they can do it too. Because this is what it's about. This is unscripted drama. This is turnover and have something happens that moves you. And Leicester move me every single time I see them play. Even against Arsenal. I'm sure they moved you against Arsenal too. But they moved me. I want Leicester to do it. I think they have a huge advantage in that while the other teams are playing, the likes of Spurs, the likes of Arsenal, while they're in other cups, European competitions, they can sit back and wait. So it's 13 games, 13 cup finals for them. They'll be in Dubai. I've seen the pictures, Danny Simpson and the boys in Dubai jumping off the boats into the sea, enjoying themselves. That's what they need to do. They need to relax, focus, and I hope for the Premier League they do it. Arsenal can come second if you want.
Your father's got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Could you take some... what was that? Could you take some questions from the younger
Yes.
guys then? Who might want to talk?
Yeah, we've got 3-4 minutes left, so we're happy to take some questions. From the youngsters, anyone got a question? Does anyone have any questions for Jason? Yes.
How did it feel making your Premier League debut?
Honestly, terrible, man. Terrible. We lost. Lost to Man United away, Old Trafford. Stuff of dreams are made of. I got the ball on the halfway line, went past Blanc, went past Gary Neville, one-on-one with Barthez. Made a great save. And they went and won 1-0. And afterwards, everyone called me up and said, boy, that would have been a great goal. Man, how was it? Old Trafford, was it? It sucked. It's horrible. Didn't enjoy it. Hated it. I like to win. I don't, if I lose, and the best players I've played with have this mentality that they want to win. I learned a lesson that game, right? So it's 1-0, and Gary Neville gets it, gives it to Scholes. Scholes gives it to Beckham. Beckham gives it to Veron. Veron gives it to Giggs. Giggs goes past about 17 players, crosses it. Van Nistelrooy just misses the ball. Gary Neville, Scholesy! Scholesy! What is up with him? Scholesy! You tell that bleep to get his head on it. Scholesy says it to him, to the letter, to the word, and Van Nistelrooy goes, yeah, okay. Wow. Those are the levels, man. Every day in training, every single game, you can't make a mistake. And if you do, someone's going to tell you about it. This ain't the kids' league. This ain't the academy. This ain't the let's progress together. This is the big league where you can't make a mistake. And I think I found out that in training every day, in everything you do, you need to be the best. You're competing against the guy who's going to play in front of you on Saturday. That's it, man. Ruthless. Every day. If you can do that, if you can keep that level of mentality and keep that drive, no matter where it comes from, then you're somewhere near it, man.
Yes, Eugene.
Jason, you talk about your career, you talk about when you had the initial breakthroughs, your disappointment being released, and then finally being signed. It's easy being signed, I think. The hard work is once you're signed, it's going on. There are a lot of young people playing in the Hyde League. You talk about your uncle, your family support, but at some point, you have to make the decision whether this is right for you. What was the turning point for you when you realised, actually, I've got to make or break here?
It was the pre-season. I spoke about the hills, not going on holiday, no Ibiza, no Magaluf with everybody else, right? No Ayia Napa. I've never been to Ayia Napa. Gutted. I heard, right? But I think that was the moment. That was when I realised that for me to achieve something great, I needed to sacrifice. And I think you learn about yourself. And for me, my career, I played with fear, a lot of fear. And I think it's hard to transmit that. I played with a lot of fear. But then I learned to embrace that fear. It wasn't fear to miss a chance, right? Because you go and you miss a chance, oh no, okay. You go and you miss another chance. As a striker, you could say, right, you played 10 games, you scored 4 goals, whatever. You can be measured. So I played with a lot of fear, but I realized that what was the fear? The fear wasn't missing a chance. The fear was I was fearful of not being successful. And that fear was bigger than missing chances, right? So I'd go in, I'd miss. Guess what? I'd go in, I'd miss again, and I'd miss again. And I realized that missing was part of the process. You have to miss. If you don't miss, you can't be great. You can't score a goal. They say it's 1 chance, it's 3 chances to every goal. So I learned to love missing. I miss, okay, that's 1 more chance nearer a goal. I miss again, that's 1 more chance nearer a goal. Okay, no problem. I have a fear, but the fear is I'm not going to be successful. So I have to put myself in a position where I can expose myself. I don't like public speaking, so I have to do this. I think next month I'm going to be speaking in front of 700 people in a graduation. I have fear, but I have a fear of not being successful, so I have to do it.
If you're scared to fail, you can't succeed.
Well, if you no one who has not pushed themselves hasn't done anything great. You need to push yourself and expose yourself and fail, and embrace failure. It's a good thing. I know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jason, my name's James, I'm from Pitts Football.
Nice, man.
It's just a quick question to find out about what was it for you that enhanced your information and your knowledge from where you first started to where you are now? Because for me, it's not that my perception of you has changed, it's just that I feel like it's enhanced today. So what resources, books or individuals really helped you to get to the mindset that you're in right now?
Nah, that's crazy, man. Do you know what? I think being exposed to life and trying to take something from it. When you're in extreme situations, and I think football, life puts you in extreme situations, first of all. Forget football, right? I'm only talking about football because that's a huge part of my life. But football places me in extreme situations. And you have to learn to deal with failure, like I spoke about earlier. You need to learn to deal with success, too. And I think you learn a lot about yourself. So what resources? I don't know. My dad took me to a hypnotherapist when I was a kid. And that was really interesting. He picked me up from Stonebridge. I'm like, what on earth am I doing in? This is not going to work. But apparently she got him off smoking. So I went to her and that was really interesting. That brought me a sort of sense of, okay, the mentality is a huge part of it. I do meditate a lot on the fact that I'm the master of my thoughts, right? I can have a million thoughts, but I only want to have the ones that are positive to me. I used to wake up really annoyed about something that happened 6 years ago. I can't affect it now. That's gone, right? So how do I focus on the good feelings? How do I embrace those good feelings? How do I feel appreciative of what I have? And we spoke earlier. I spoke about being successful and the trappings that come with that, all the success that you have and financial things that may come about. But if you don't have gratitude, none of that's important. You know, there's people who in Grenada who I know who don't have much, but they're so much happier than me. So who's winning, right? So I think you need to have a gratitude to what it is that you have. And in answer to your question, I think life teaches you, and it's for you to take those lessons and apply it in a positive way, whatever that may be. If that's not a crap answer, I'm sorry.
That's a great answer.
Is that okay?
That's the best thing you said all night.
So we do.
Excellent. Okay, final question from one of our high league members.
I'm Hamza.
Hey, man.
Who was the best player on and off the pitch?
Best player on and off the pitch. Okay, that's difficult because there's some people who wake up.
Otis.
Oh yeah, of course. He sat behind you.
Otis.
So, absolutely right. Thanks for pulling me up on that. I had to think about that as well. There's some people who can wake up and be good at football, right? I play the people who woke up and they enjoyed getting better at what they did. And then I had some people who had to work and work and work to get to where they were. And I found that those guys were the guys that had a longevity. Those were the guys who you could depend on. Those were the guys who made the best of their ability. So I played with a guy, and I'm loath to mention him because I didn't get on with him. I'm going to have to think about this. So I played with Michel Salgado, right? And Michel Salgado won everything. Everything. Champions League, numerous times, Spanish leagues, cups, whatever you want to say, won everything. And he came to Blackburn when he was 36, towards the end of his career. As a footballer, good energy, decent quality. The one thing that stood out about this guy was he couldn't lose. When I mean he couldn't lose, I mean he wouldn't lose. If we played Man United on Saturday and we had a five-a-side on Monday, he would demand of everybody 100% and himself. And if he lost, listen, you ain't heard words like this. I ain't heard. He would swear in several different languages. He would go into the dressing room, smash up the dressing room, go home in his car and kick the cat. I'm sure he kicked the cat. But this was not a joke. I would lose on a Monday and be like, oh guys, try harder tomorrow. Let's see what happens. We're gonna go out tonight, right? Nah, not this guy. 100%. Every moment of every, and I'm not sure that comes from a good place, right? That might come from a dark place. I don't know what to say to you. But what I do know is that he won't lose. And in my opinion, that's the difference between him being wildly successful and another guy who had more ability and didn't do anything. So you need to find that intensity every day. It's not easy.
So you think as a footballer I should be like that?
Don't kick the cat. I don't need to go away with this, with that. But I think what I was trying to say, speaking to one of the boys from the charity, what I'm trying to say is that you have to find the motivation within yourself to extract 100% everything that you do. Five-a-side, two-touch, running drills. But you are competing against everybody else. And you need to win every single time. And you need to demand that of everybody else. And then tomorrow, you need to do it again. And then the day after that, you need to do it again. You need to do that for 17 years. And if you do that, then we can talk about your ability.
I'd like to say thank you to Jason for his inspiration and motivation.